Hey guys, JP Hoffman coming to you from the Rawhide Saloon here at Shiloh Ranch, Nevada. Hope to see you guys here live sometime. But in the meantime, what I wanted to talk to you today about was, yes, I think we're all becoming aware that the Bureau of Land Management intends on rounding up 21,000 horses, that's their goal, from not only in 2024 into the future is what their position is, which is a significant increase from the standard of roughly 5,000 or so. Some years they've had more or less. And then, but what we constantly see is the complaining and the incorrect answers going on. And so I'm posting this video because I want to paint a picture for you, if you will. So imagine, if you will, an off-range holding facility that has hundreds of acres, and some of them thousands of acres, where these horses go to. Yes, they're going to be busting at the seams, so to speak, with the additional roundup. However, the horses are in the different units there. They do form bands in those facilities, etc. Would you say that's better for them than sitting in the backyard of somebody in 110 degrees that maybe has a quarter of an acre and sitting in a stall that never gets utilized and just sitting there? Would you think that being at an off-range holding facility is better? I want you to think about that. I'm not looking for the trolls to come fight. I'm not even going to argue that. The question's rhetorical because you have to be a moron to think that one's better than the other. That's what's going on here. And the other thing I want you to realize, what's never going to happen is the roundup stop or the gather stop. That's never going to happen. And I'm going to give you the reason why in a second. And the other thing that's never going to happen is that these off-range holding facilities are going to be opened up and we're going to trailer them all back to the west and let them all out and they're all going to be free and happy and we're going to sing songs and sing kumbaya stories. That's never going to happen either. Unfortunately, that's the situation we're in. So instead of blaming the local Bureau of Land Management folks, which have no say in this, by the way, of what to do. They try to do the best they can with the resources they have. This problem comes from your politicians in DC. And so here's what should happen. Let's give them a second life at doing something meaningful, working, being in a home that they can be cared for. There's some moronic groups out there that actually do a program where they're like, hey man, if you adopt a Mustang, I'll pay for the food, I'll pay for and we'll do this under our 501c3, and we'll pay for all your vet care. That's another moronic and idiotic statement. Please leave them in the off-range holding facilities versus doing this stupid foster program that I keep hearing about. That is the most dumb, idiotic program in the world. Do you feel that somebody who can't afford to take care of a horse and they pay an adoption fee because you're going to buy all the food for them? What about when the food doesn't come? What about when you can't make that payment because your 501c3 can't afford the hay? Do you think they're going to go out and buy hay for that horse? Do you think they're going to get it the proper medical treatment? Do you think they're going to have the farriers come by and do their feet? The answer is no. Nobody really believes that. So when you want to talk about, then the next news story is horses found neglected in somebody's backyard. So that's not an answer either. So please leave them in the off-range holding facilities. If you see people offering fostering services or paying for horse care for somebody, target them before you target anybody from the BLM. Because that is a moronic, naive way to look at the world. Here's a good way to look at it. They have value. Not all of them, but a lot of them do have value. They have value in their size, their color, them being a wild Mustang, the athleticism. What then happens? They need to be trained to that level. And so then there can be a real market by people who can afford horses. They can afford them anyway, but they'll take the Mustangs as long as they're trained and they look good and their kids or their wife or their husband thinks they're cool to have a Mustang and they can afford to own one. That's the answer. Getting them properly trained and getting them into homes that can be where they can be where people can afford the care. But I'm so sick of the blame being placed in the wrong areas, number one, And number two, I did promise you I would get to the reason the roundups have increased from 5,000 to 21,000 being the goal. You love to blame the ranchers. It's funny, with Impossible Meat at Burger King and Impossible Meat this and lab-grown meat here, do you honestly believe that ranchers that are family-owned businesses are leasing more federal land to graze cattle? Do you really believe that? Do you believe they're giving those leases to the ranchers? Do your investigations. They're not. A lot of the ranchers are cutting down on the federal lease. But they're an easy target to blame because they don't have a big corporation behind them most of the time. Most of the time it's just a family trying to get by day to day, raising beef. Okay? So why then, if it's not ranchers, well, why do they need more land? The number one reason is for renewable energy projects. Solar, wind, and geothermal. That's what they need the land for. Why? Because there's so many government incentives for these programs that these big companies and developers are leasing this land at breakneck speed. It's not going to oil companies. All those leases for 4 years have been denied as of yesterday, at least in Alaska, and they've done that in every state, where they're speeding up the environmental assessments and environmental impact statements that are required on raw land in the West. Those things are being fast-tracked for the renewables. So there's literally millions of acres of land that's been leased to these corporations. Do you think the corporations want to be responsible for horses dying while they're doing construction? Absolutely not. They don't want to take your wrath that you're right now providing and giving to BLM. They don't want that. They're not stupid. So they get their minions and their politicians to take the horses off the range before they get there. Why would you not delay a gather in a year where you have record forage? And I did a thing on the forest fires, on the wildland fires. Forget forest fires for a minute. The wildland fires. Please go look back at that video. The horses would actually stop that. Why? Because the corporations need it. They've already leased the land. They want them off. They got to start developing and putting the solar arrays and the wind arrays and digging deep G wells. That's what they need. That's why they want these horses off the range. So wake up, follow the people who are doing something right, quit going for these stupid ideas of the more people we can get approved to adopt a horse is a great idea. It's the dumbest idea I've ever heard. So the horses, I think we've established, they are better off in off-range holding than they are in somebody's backyard rotting away in a stall. And I'll tell you what, for the sanctuaries that have the land and have the horses, good job. I know they get slammed a lot too, but at least the horses are out there roaming free as well. I'm not here to judge them on how they run their sanctuary and their business. They got to make money as well. So anyways, but there are solutions there. There's a way to make it profitable, and there's a way to do good and do honest things for these horses. Just be a loud voice on the internet doesn't do anything. Screaming at each other and making just blatant statements that don't go anywhere. So there are real solutions, and if you like this content and you want to look at some more real solutions, then follow us. If not, and you're just a troll, you can comment if you want and just complain about what I said. But I need you to think logically, and if you want to come talk to us and join us in our fight, come find us. Look forward to talking to you soon.